Good morning. Today we've asked for some of our elected officials to come together to discuss the Mark Clark completion of I-526 and what we think could or could not be the benefits in doing so. I think what you'll hear from us today is a discussion on 526, on what we think the benefits of going forward with it currently are, and what that can mean to our community.
Thank you all very much for coming out, and thank you for the media folks who are here, and particularly thank you to the leaders of our community who are stepping up and showing how important this is. 526 is incredibly important to the future of Lowcountry. If we don't finish this interstate, and it's not a matter of extending it, if we don't finish this interstate, what's going to happen is 20 or 30 years from now, our children and grandchildren are going to look at all of us and each other and say, what was wrong with them? How many times over the years have you heard or have you thought yourself about a particular issue facing Lowcountry and wondered why didn't they do something back at the point in time when they should have done something about it? This is the point in time. We need to be finishing 526 because it's incredibly important for a number of reasons. It's incredibly important for traffic congestion. It's incredibly important for hurricane evacuation. It's just incredibly important to the future of the Lowcountry, and we are here today just to show our support together and make it clear that we believe that this interstate needs to be finished, and expect and hope that DOT and the other folks involved will make sure that that happens. Thank you.
The completion of I-526 is essential to the future quality of life and safety of our community. If we don't complete this highway, citizens in the future will suffer horrific traffic congestion and be faced with having to travel on unsafe highways that will cause unnecessary accidents, injuries, and deaths. The majority of the citizens of our community, the silent majority, the working people who are busy, don't easily turn out for meetings, expecting their elected officials to do what they ought to do. And what they ought to do is give the citizens of this community now and in the future safe and convenient highways so that they can reasonably, easily get to and from work, that their children can get to and from school, and that they can do so safely. The completion of I-526 is our responsibility now, and the time is now. And as the speaker said, the congestion will be terrible if we don't. In time to come, without the completion of I-526, traffic on Folly Road at Wapoo will be just as bad, if not worse, than before the James Island connector was built. Traffic on Savannah Highway will come to a halt at many times during the day. And the frustration and anger that the citizens will feel will justifiably cause them to ask what was going on in 2012 and 2013 when the funds were available and the opportunity existed to complete this vitally important highway. The time is now. The responsibility is ours. We must complete I-526 and do it as soon as possible.
I think all of us remember what hit in 1989 was Hugo. And as a young county council member looking at the traffic issues that we had getting people out of this community, I think most people need to understand that 526, the completion of 526, is something that's been planned since the inception and conception of what we were doing with 526. What happens, and we've all seen it, when I was on county council, we went and bought land for a second landfill when Bees Ferry got full that we could go to. But then development occurred all around that landfill, and today nobody wants to see the landfill go there. I can assure you there were issues when 526 was built to come through North Charleston. There were issues of dividing neighborhoods. There were issues of the traffic noise. And the traffic noise is there. I mean, nobody can deny that. But it was for the purpose of the good of the community as a whole to move people. If you looked in the newspaper this past Thursday, a week ago, you saw where between Charleston, North Charleston, and Mount Pleasant, there's 10,000 new citizens in the last year in those 3 municipalities alone. This growth is not going to stop. If you want to stop growth, then you have to quit trying to get the Boeings. You have to quit trying to say that we're a great community to live. I used to rag my friend Harry Hallman about Mount Pleasant's not going to quit growing as long as you advertise it's a great place to live. That's what happens. We are a community. If you look at the economy of the Lowcountry compared to the economy across the nation, every city, 75% of the cities across the nation have had layoffs in the last 4 years. The Lowcountry's economy has been strong. We haven't laid off our people. We've kept them working. We've moved forward and progressed. There's a cost for that. It's called people. And it's called how do we move these people on a daily basis, not just when you've got a hurricane comes in or you've got some kind of catastrophe that happens. We need to move people every day. There are people that are gridlocked today with one accident. It gridlocks. 526 in the North Charleston area gives people an alternative route. I-26 gives an alternative route. If we're going to continue to grow as a community, we've got to move people. And the answer is the completion, not the starting of the completion of 526. It should have been built from day one. The problem is there wasn't the revenue to do it at that time. You have to do it in phases. This is the last phase of that connection. And it has to be done for the good of all the citizens of Charleston County.
This morning I was lucky enough to ride over the Arthur Ravenel Bridge, and thank God we have that. We eliminated 2 old structures and we got that. But yesterday I was on I-526. Can you imagine the town of Mount Pleasant without I-526? It's impossible to do. Bobby and I work for one of the largest insurance companies in America. 55% of the population is going to live within 50 miles of the coast within the next 10 years. We've got to complete this thing. Not for everybody, but I can promise you, everybody, once it's built, will ride on it. It's an important project. I think we have the money, at least we have the majority of it. We're lucky enough to have a strong influence in Columbia now. I think the money's available, and we need to complete this as quickly as we possibly can.
You know, when you have folks in Burnsdown, South Windermere, Air Harbor, Ponderosa, you know, these folks are feeling the brunt of this traffic on a day-to-day basis. Hard to get in and out their communities, you know, tie-ups, because why? There's no other egress, ingress for these folks to use. We need to move quickly. We need to do it now and complete I-526. We know there's a lot of politics been involved on both sides. That the majority doesn't want it. That's what was told, but that's not true. If you look at the referendum when this stuff went out, the majority of folks voted and said they wanted it, but there wasn't enough money to complete it. The James Island Connector, when it first started as an idea, a lot of folks opposed it, but I guarantee you, half of the folks who came here today used the James Island Connector to get over here. How many of you folks in there live on Johns Island? Would you stand up if you live on Johns Island? How many of you use 526 to get here today? Raise your hand. My point exactly. But most of you are against 520, but the same folks are against 526 use it to get here. It's needed. We need to do something. It was said if you build these things, you know, development will come. Well, guess what? Development is already here, and you even haven't built the road or completed the road yet. So I'm in favor of it, always has been. Something needs to be done. But if you're not in favor of it, why do you use it? Thank you.
I can tell you that I have, over the years, heard from so many people that I represent in the Savannah Highway Corridor, Wesley Drive, even on Johns Island, James Island, which might surprise some in the media, given what we read. that not just that they are in support of 526 being completed, but that we have to do it. We have to do it. That we have to be bold enough and courageous enough to look through the clutter of a very organized and passionate minority of people that don't want this road completed, but that we have to do it. That their quality of life, the future of their children, is basically at stake in West Ashley, depending on what happens with 526 being completed. You know, one thing we forget sometimes, Mayor Summey mentioned how this was part of the original plan all along. Well, everything that we've done in terms of road planning, much of what we've done in terms of growth, has all been factored around the idea that we were going to complete 526. And so to now think that we can just abandon that and that these traffic patterns are going to hold without completing this interstate, I think the only piece of uncompleted interstate in South Carolina as we speak, just doesn't make any sense. All the growth and planning that we've done has been centered around the idea in that corridor that 526 would be completed. As Mayor Summey said, the only reason it isn't done already was a funding issue. It's been in our plans, and we've worked around it the entire time. I particularly want to thank Mayor Swails and Mayor Summey. You know, it would be easy for them. Their portions of 526 are done, and it would be politically expedient, maybe, and really easy for them to not be here today. But like the rest of Charleston came together and sacrificed to let the Mount Pleasant leg get built and the North Charleston leg get built, they're here to support the completion on the West Ashley side, which is so badly needed. I'm going to tell you, I get emails, phone calls every day from people in the neighborhoods along Savannah Highway, Wesley Drive, traffic cutting through their neighborhoods, clogging up neighborhood streets. And all it is people trying to get from James Island, Johns Island, Kiowa, Seabrook into West Ashley, or from West Ashley into those areas. It's not safe, it's not fair, and it's not good planning if we allow those neighborhoods to be ruined by what is going to be an ever worsening traffic situation. So we have to get this done. Everybody at this table has worked hard to get us where we are, and we are right there. We are right there at the edge of having everything we need to get it done. And I want the public to know, the majority of whom, you know, there's no doubt in my mind, support completing this project, that contrary to what they might read or think, their elected leaders are working on this all the time to try to make sure that this gets done. And we're committed to it. I'll tell you that. Everybody at this table is committed to it, and I have no doubt we're going to make it happen.
Bishop Gasson on Folly Road, down past, down to Representative Stavronakis is right past 526. So my district is really that big V. And it was interesting when I ran this time, when I started looking at what the issues were, the main issue, first question they'd ask me, where are you on I-526? And I'd say, well, I'm for it. They'd say, okay, you got my vote. And I don't even get to vote on this thing. So, but I can tell you the impact that not building this on the West Ashley, the Folly Road area is just going to be incredible. Chairman Pryor alluded to the fact that all those neighborhoods up and down, they're gridlocked right now. People are driving through the neighborhoods, down the streets. We've had to put all these speed humps just to kind of calm stuff down, but that's because people are driving all over the place to avoid 17, avoid Folly Road. And it's, you know, and I really do appreciate Mayor Swails, Mayor Summey, as Leon said, to be here, because it'd be very easy for you guys to take a pass. But we appreciate the support. We've got to get this done. Johns Island, second largest island on the East Coast, behind New York, Long Island in New York. So, and we don't have our main artery. It's almost like having these veins out here with no artery to connect them. I mean, it just doesn't work. It's gonna kill the neighborhoods.
It was July 11th, 1971. County Council again voted unanimously to what is now the beginning and end termini of the Mark Clark. All along through the 80s, We built pieces of the Mark Clark long and long and long. In November of 2004, Charleston County Council asked for a referendum under the leadership of then Mr. Stavronakis and Congressman Tim Scott to ask the public about a half-cent sales tax. And they listed in a separate question a list of projects, one of which was the completion of I-526. That passed by over 60% of the vote on a referendum in a general election. All along, again and again and again, the public has spoken saying that they want this road completed. With the price of construction, as our economy comes back, continuing to rise, if we're going to do anything, it has to be now. This is a quality of life issue. It's about getting people from where they live to where they work and home every day safely. And that is the number one job of an elected official and a public official, is to provide for the safety of its community. It has to be done, and it has to be done now.